Hello, everybody, and welcome to Alternative Interactions and Sonja Testament in Reality Talks. That's what I think we called it that last week. So it's Reality Talks. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe to Sonja of the Tree of Knowledge and to myself, Alternative Interactions. And Sonja, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Yes, again, I'm Sonja Testerman from the Tree of Knowledge, and I'm a remote viewer. I'm also an empath, amongst many other skill sets that all of us are soon to have, if not opening up now. This is when I say I'm a remote viewer, don't think that that's special or unique to me. Every single one of us have this ability. Where are you in this ascension?
Superb, superb. Yeah, I agree. It's the remote viewing or the remote linking kind of worked in the wrong way with your show with Richard, because when you were recording that show, I suddenly got Richard, and obviously because he's just started talking about me and thought about me, I was like, ching. So, and I know I had to chat to him about something we had to do that day, so I phoned him up, and oh my God, so I'm so sorry about that. But that is it's that link, isn't it? It's that remote view link.
It's that link. And I'm going to add this in real quick. One of the reasons we're at war right now with AI is because it's biting for your attention. Because if I can get your attention, then you don't know you're going to have all these skill sets opening to you. Your clairs are coming online. You're going to be so busy scrolling and being monopolized in cyber world so someone can make a buck, because every time you're in cyber world someone's making a buck off you. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is, and the most important commodity is your attention.
Yeah, no, I agree. I actually had a little walk and babble the other day. I walk through the forest and just have a phone and chat, and it's just a nice natural way of being out in nature, but be able to connect to the beautiful Femi, the audience. And the day before, because I hate AI, I cannot stand AI. I avoid it like the plague. Even with Zoom now, AI's got involved in Zoom, and you can't do what you want on Zoom anymore without AI sticking its snout in and stopping you. So it's like, but I've done some research on Moses, because I mean Moses is not what we think, obviously, either.
No.
Moses originally had horns, believe it or not. I mean,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah,
Different species.
completely. And Moses is also linked to one of my lovely viewers sent me some confirmation on this because I felt it was good at the timing. But the Pharaoh Akhenaten, who was the one who began the one single God concept with Moses, and they're probably both likely the same kind of person or energy. Let's put it that way. They're not
Yeah.
people, are they? But
No.
so I started asking AI about this, and AI downright lied. It denied that Bible passages existed, and it would only go to like the changed Bible version and not the one that I had, and all sorts of stuff. And when I called it out, and oh yes, I'm sorry, you're quite correct. This is actually, and it did it for every single. I think I got to 7 questions, and I said to my girlfriend, said that's it, finished,
Oh my
not
gosh.
playing anymore. That sealed the deal. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I had just done my last week Saturday because I have my Patreon and I do 2 hour deep dives, and I had so many requests on AI. Please dive deep into it, because all these people are, they're getting consumed by AI. It's becoming a terrible dopamine addiction, and it's retarding people's ability to think, because if you don't use your brain, it atrophies just like any other part of your body. So I was like, okay, and I'm going to tell you this real quick. So I did this deep dive, and I started getting other videos where people recommended me these videos, and then I looked at the videos, and then I'm like, you know what, all of them are saying something different. I'm going to do a remote view, and I'm going to look into everything, and found that there were several scenarios going on with AI. One, there's a whole bunch of people who are pretending to be AI because the company's hiring really poor people to do these jobs because they can't afford the AI algorithms. That's one. The next one is there are algorithms that are out there, which is the majority, 98% are algorithms, and they have worked on these algorithms for decades. Okay, and these algorithms are designed to mimic human behavior. what is one of the biggest things in human behavior? Lying. Unfortunately, our species lies. It does little white lies, it does big lies, it does lies, and all in between it lies.
Yeah.
If I wanted you to trust into something, I'm going to give it the same characteristics that you have.
Yeah. Yeah, no, no, I agree. I mean, obviously, I mean, like for those that know me on my channel, I do a lot of research, and I'm anally researching constantly. I mean, even though I'm on my phone constantly, I'm actually researching constantly, scrolling through, trying, and you get little bits. I'm putting stuff together the way my brain works because I'm dyslexic like you, so I can't sit down and read a book. That just doesn't happen, and it never will happen. So I get little bits and pieces and then put them together, and occasionally I'll put notes down and stuff like that, but not often. It's mostly sort of just up here, like you, you know, and
Mm,
and so I'm sort of, it's I'm scrolling through and you can see the AI stuff coming through now. You can
yeah.
see the channels, and some people, like that lady that put you onto the halls of the Menti, the chair underneath the Vatican.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she actually uses AI a lot of the time.
Oh God, it's Ollie. I'll tell you what, her name is Mspiracy.
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
Mspiracy. And
Yeah.
somebody recommended me, actually a few people started recommending me to watch because I don't watch other channels hardly. I mean, I try, but I really don't want my world consumed. I am not going to sit behind any device for over so much time of my day. I'm not doing it. So I checked her out and I'm like, oh, this is what I'm actually seeing. She's a real person, but she was approached by a group of people, and this was a while back. And she had her own channel. I found out from one of the people I talked to that she actually had her own channel where it was only her, and it
Yes.
was quite different than what it is now.
Yes.
So he had certain features that, okay, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. If you're a beautiful person, you'll sell more, you'll get more attention. And this is one of the reasons that landed her in this position because she's a very beautiful woman.
Yep.
Okay. Eye candy. You need it. You need it in cyber world. That's why we have all this fake crap going on where you can even change what you look like because we need to have this perfection eye candy. And I could go into how the Chinese are so obsessed with it. They start having surgeries at age 12.
Yeah. 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 To make their
So
eyes look more European and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, they
Yeah.
put we have, like a double eyelid thing and they don't. And so that's the first surgery they have. And then it's their nose. And anyway, it's
Yeah.
horrible. It's when you're living in a superficial reality when this is the only thing that's important because this is the mask that we put on every time we walk outside. It isn't who
Yes.
you are, it's what people see and perceive.
Yeah. No, totally. I mean,
So go
yeah, I
ahead.
mean that M Spiracy, she did one on Tartaria, and it was so slick. I was just like, that's too slick. And then I sort of like, because like somebody recommended, like you, a friend of mine said, "Oh my God, you got to see this woman. She's amazing. She's, you know," and straight
Not
away,
actually her. It's not actually her.
no,
First off, all of it's put through an AI chat GPT. So that you can even tell by the nobody speaks like that. I'm sorry, that's not language of anyone. That's AI language.
yeah, yeah,
No one talks like that.
no, no one,
Okay. No one talks like that. So when you start seeing this algorithm running and it's imperfection, but you can tell it's an algorithm, people don't speak like that. I'm
yeah,
sorry, I haven't got that down yet. So it's too far ahead of its time when it comes to common speech patterns. The next thing is you cannot compact that much information into a small bit. So it's just like download, 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 down. People don't really do that either. That's
no,
not in their mental makeup. We don't speak like that. We have a lot of words that are pointless and useless, but we use them because it's a part of our vocabulary. This is it and but or this
yeah,
that whatever.
yeah. We say a lot, don't we? Between yeah, and then and yeah,
So what I did see with the conspiracy is there's a group of people. They're slamming this information out. Remember, there's always cha-ching behind everything. This wouldn't even be happening if someone wasn't benefiting monetarily in the end, because there are not a lot of people who will go out there and just give information for free. I
Yeah.
was one of those people for almost 5 years before I was forced to make a Patreon because I
Yes.
needed to financially. But for 5 years, I just did what I did. And I even did for a while, I think it was like 6 months to a year, where I was giving free sessions to
Yeah.
people and I would talk to them because it was benefiting not only them, it was benefiting me because I was getting used to, speaking to people too, like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it takes a while
So,
to practice it, doesn't it? I mean, when I mean, my missus said to me the other day, "Oh my God, have a look at one of your earliest videos," and I've not been going that long, and and I'm not, I'm just not me, and now I'm far more me. But yeah, with that M conspiracy, I watched this one on Tartaria, and she talked about this reset. Now, firstly, like you, I looked and every single platform. I'm not on X, I'm not on Facebook. Got kicked off them both, and I'm not going back.
oh,
Um, but that she's across all the platforms. It's dropped instantaneously, promoted instantaneously. There's big money behind it, pushing it. And
oh,
she came up with this date. I can't remember. It could be in 1522 for this great big reset. And I'm thinking, well, all my research I've ever done, there's no reset in and the date
mm-mm.
could be wrong, but just say for argument's sake, it's 1522. So I looked it up, I did all the thing, and I came back and said, this woman is lying, and it ain't even a woman, it's an AI bot you know. And just to your point, Sonia, they lie because it's part of the thing. So she will give just enough information to be credible, that's correct. But the key point in which we then go to, it's not.
Yeah. I'm telling you, AI is infiltrated into everything. And the sad thing is with this, when I had done that video about the AI chat GPT, it's so bad that we've got kids in school using it now. College, university are using it. Okay, now we're talking about even teachers are now being forced to use it, and professionals. It's like if you wanted to dumb down an entire race of beings, tell it that AI has to do all of your work for you because your brain needs to atrophy and we need to tell you how it is.
Yeah, yeah. There was a thing about
Oh,
doctors, and they were saying like the majority of newly qualified doctors now are only qualified because AI, ChatGTP passed their exam for them.
yeah, that's it. That's it. Is that not so? I'm sorry. We're on the verge of that's frightening.
Yes, yeah, that is very scary.
Oh,
No offense, but we are of a certain generation where we were brought up with no computers.
no.
We played outside.
Oh,
We, you know, I mean, if you broke something, you'd carry on playing until the pain got so bad, you then go home and say, "Oh, I've sort of hurt something," and it's like, "Oh yeah, 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 you broke your collarbone or you smashed your kneecap or something." It's like, oh, okay, and that's kind of how it was back then.
yeah.
And
And we didn't care. It was like, you know what? We didn't even think about it. We're
no.
just like, I've broken bones too. And it's like the next day, it's like, okay, I'm in a cast. Let's go.
Yeah, but today, um, well, that's why they brought in the nanny state, wasn't it? It's why they brought in health and safety and all this kind of nonsense. The things
Mhm.
we used to get up to years ago, you'd get arrested for these days.
Oh yeah, it's bad. I remember when there was a time where people used to ride in the back of pickup trucks and they would just throw their friends in the back of the pickup truck and go run around. And my God, if you did that today, you'd get a ticket and you'd all be arrested.
Yeah, yeah, I know, I know. It's crazy. See how many people you could bundle in the car to get your mates up to and from the pub or something. Do you know what I mean? It's just like,
Just anything. I mean, there's just I think about today how things were back then, and there is no correlation.
no,
We've got a full now disconnect from the generations, at least two generations behind us, below us, who haven't got a clue how, I mean, there is such a dividing line now. We've
yeah,
made that break from them. It's like we're in one world, they're in another, and we are doing this.
yeah, we are. Yeah, yeah. And again, that's all by design. I mean, it's not an accident that this is happening. And again, people can't see this. I mean, like, I looked into women's lib years ago. I mean, this is quite a long time ago. This is one of the sort of first subjects I looked at, and I looked at women's lib. Emily Park Pankhurst and all the bits and pieces and that. And it had Rockefeller money all over it,
Of course it did. Of
you know, and
course
it's
it did.
like and the reason was that when they've got the divine feminines at home, making a nest, looking after the children, making
Mhm.
sure there's properly home cooked food on the table, and you've got a family unit, you're strong.
That's right.
And as soon as you get that woman working, you can tax her more. The child then becomes a waif and can then the state can step in and start doing, school clubs and all the bits and pieces. And all of a sudden, the pressures of working with the inflationary thing of money, you're then destroying the family concept and you're individualizing everybody. And a family that's individuals can be picked off and taken out whenever they want.
Yeah, breaking that family unit. They worked a really hard time. They only did that, and it was done. They do things in 100-year increments. The cabal, the bad guys, the Jesuits that are the Zionists
Yes.
are
Yeah.
running everything. The bankster gangsters. I don't know what you want to call them.
Yeah. We call
Anyway,
them the Khazarian Mafia or the Zionists. Either
that's
way, it's the
basically,
same in
yep,
it.
it's the same. Well, they knew way back when that they were going to break up. They wanted to break up America because when America was actually formed, um, it was taken over, and our takeover was the Civil War. When the Civil War, we were given a bullshit story about it was to free the slaves. It had nothing to do
No.
this with freeing the slaves. It was to enslave the rest of you.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Yeah.
So back then, they decided that the family unit was too strong because they had a hell of a time winning that war because they almost didn't win that war. And how would we look today if that war hadn't been won? This entire world would look completely different because that means the Khazarians wouldn't have been able to get in, the Zionists,
Yeah.
and start reshaping what America was, what it was founded for, the Constitution is, which we do. We're on our third Constitution. The
Yeah.
first one's already in the toilet. It's been in the toilet for a very long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're looking at the women going, okay, we need to break up the family because we know that family is strong because in our Zionist reality, family is absolutely everything. They told us that once you got to a certain age, kick those kids out of the house,
Yeah.
let them survive on their own because they knew it would destroy the family unit. Because it is so much harder to start off on ground zero when you have zero education behind you. I'm sorry, you're 18, you have zero education behind you.
Yeah.
And that's if you've even made it out of any type of math, arithmetic, learning of English, spelling, what have you.
It's life
But
skills, isn't it? It's life
yeah,
skills they haven't got.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have people who are multi-generational living in a home, you've got the eldest teaching the youngest do's and don'ts of society, do's and don'ts of how you behave. You don't treat your parents like this, you don't do this, you don't eat like this on the table. Well, I've just destroyed that because I'm telling you now, when they're 18, get the hell out of my house. Go make your own life. You're not supposed to be a part of us. It was a big psyop. And then the next thing was women have to go to work because we don't even want them home taking care of their babies. Because if you're not mom and dad, who is? The state,
Yeah.
the deep state.
Yeah. No, I agree entirely. On my channel, I've actually gone into the history of America in many respects, not particularly deeply, but shown that the wars were actually psyops and
Yeah,
that they were actually the UK via the Rothschilds, because the
yeah,
UK was taken over by Oliver Cromwell fundamentally, by the mafia,
yeah,
and so they then wanted to take out America and split America up for their own purposes. And actually, it was Russia that saved America a couple of times because they blockaded the ports, which again is not really shown because obviously in
yeah,
modern day, Russia's got to be bad because you've always got it's divide and conquer, isn't it? Oh, look, they're bad. So, but actually,
yeah,
no. And
yeah.
the Zionism was created, and obviously communism by the same people, and
Mm-hmm.
they 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 got their revenge. I think Rothschilds lost over 1 billion in and back then that was a lot of money, huge amounts. And the Rothschilds took their revenge back on the Russia by creating communism and murdering 100 million white Christian Russians before daring to stick their snout in and stop their takeover of what
Yeah,
they wanted in America.
yeah. And they
Uh,
did it through starvation because they
yes,
sent troops to every house, to every place in all of Russia, and they to make sure there would be nothing left in the cupboard. It reminds me of the Grinch when he goes, you know, the story of the Grinch, when he goes to each house and he wouldn't even leave a crumb as big as for a mouse.
yes,
They
yeah,
actually did this in
yeah,
Russia.
they did. And actually they did this as well in Ireland with the potato famine, because the
Oh, yes,
potato
they did.
famine isn't what we're told. I mean, the Irish have
Oh,
had a bad deal for centuries, quite frankly. And and if we want to talk about slavery, the majority of slaves were actually Irish and white. You
yes,
know,
they were called indentured servants.
yeah,
Yeah, and the indentured servants ran to the Americas because they would never be able to own land. They would never be able to be out of being an indentured servant. So, and you're always at the master's will. I mean, you better hope you have a great master, right? Because we're
yeah.
talking about anything goes.
Yeah, yeah. I've actually I've done a show. I recorded it the other day, and obviously it's going to drop to today because obviously, folks, we'll drop this video a few days after we've recorded it. You know, it's how it is. You know, and this is about the feudal system in England, and I was because obviously you touched on it with Richard, but the breatharianism of the Tartarian age. You know, I understand exactly how it worked through the frequency, the churches and the cathedrals,
The
with also
water.
the flint and the brick walls, the flint walls that they made,
Oh,
because the
yeah.
flint silica is an energy source and would have held the energy, and the way the bricks are designed within the flint walls is actually how they would have resonated like a capacitor, so that the
Mhm.
energy would have come at a certain frequency. I mean, we're talking super high tech, and you look at an old
Yeah,
flint wall that's
yeah.
1500 years old or whatever,
Uh,
and you're thinking, well, great, but actually that was high technology at the time,
it
and
was.
we had the breatharianism because there was no toilets and such like. So I was, that's fascinating what you was talking about to Richard about that, and with the breatharianism and that. But again, the feudal system's really interesting because when now when a government or the lords in charge make a law, does it ever benefit the people?
No.
No, right? Never.
It fits the top
Yeah,
percent.
precisely. So the real big thing that I found out about the feudal system was, and by the way, it was stopped in 1660 by Oliver Cromwell and the mafia, Khazarian mafia, fundamentally stopped the feudal system back then. Okay, so we went from the 9th century to the 15th. That's when it was at its strongest. They put in law the minimum amount of days you had to work a year for the lord of the manor, or for the king. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Hmm.
And I can tell exactly what you're thinking, because I had a conversation with some friends yesterday about this, right? So they said straight away, oh yeah, well they would have only just got Boxing Day off or Christmas Day off, and that would have been it. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's exactly what you're thinking. Yeah, no, 40 days was all somebody had to work for by law to keep their house and work and live under the Lord. 40 days was the minimum amount of work. And later on, though there's no basis for all this, they reckon it was 150 days on average that somebody would work a year.
Wow.
But if they've made a law for 40 days, you know as well as I do that they were being screwed, excusing the
Oh yeah.
language,
Yeah.
by it being 40 days. Well, you can't
Yeah.
produce food. You can't make food. You can't, 40 days is just maintenance of a property, cutting the grass and a few bits and pieces, isn't it? It's not
Yeah.
food production. So they
No.
couldn't have eaten.
You know what I think of? There's a guy named Michael Tallinger. He's from Africa,
Yeah,
South
I
Africa.
know. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And he's got this one small town, and all you have to work a week is 3 hours. And he said it's not that we don't have enough people, we have way too many people and not enough jobs. And that's why you only need to work 3 hours in 7 days. If this is how it was way back when, where you had more people than you had things to do, 40 hours would, I mean, 40 days would be a phenomenal amount of time if you're only working 3 hours a week.
Yeah, it's true though, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like, well, if it's anything like one small town and you need to work 3 hours a week for 7 days, and then you're going to introduce, you have to work 40 days a year. 3 hours is a heck of a lot less time. And it's like, well, here's the thing with crops. You can plant large crops and they're going to, okay, planting is one thing, harvesting. But what about all the in between? You sit
Yeah,
there and do this,
yeah,
grow, grow, grow.
yeah. I know, and the fact that the frequencies within the makeup of the place would have meant that they wouldn't have eaten food in the way that we know it anyway. They would have had fruit trees, berries, a
Yeah,
few crops, but it
yeah,
wouldn't have, herbs, all the bit, because if
yeah,
they got ill, they went to the church, or the frequency would stop them getting ill anyway. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
From living in within the city walls.
Yeah, the sustenance that they required was a different type because the water was prime water. It was pure. It wasn't full of any impurities. That's a big one. You can live off water alone
Yes, you
because
can.
natural prime water would have all of your base salts and minerals in it. I
Yeah,
mean, natural, the prime water underneath of us would not have the salts, but it would have the minerals.
yeah.
When it came to a certain point, it would pick up the salts, which are dead things.
They certainly are. That's why the sea's salty.
It's like once you filter in how the water's coming up, those natural rivers under the ground that's coming up from that huge ocean under beneath of us, that's all prime water.
Yeah.
And you didn't have chemtrailing, you didn't have factories polluting the water, you didn't have plastics in your reality, you certainly didn't have heavy metals. That water would be of the prime water, and that alone, you could live on water alone. It would have all
Yes.
your basic minerals, it would have your salts that you required.
Yeah.
What else do you need?
No, I agree entirely. I agree entirely. I mean, I've been looking into water quite a bit, and um, Vader Austin has done some amazing work. And Yamamoto, isn't it? With the ice, but Vader Austin's taking it to another level, and water not only sustains us. I mean, the water we drink nowadays, guys, is dead water. It's
It's
crap.
dead.
It's pointless almost drinking it. I mean,
No,
it's that bad.
you're really not getting anything but I'm sorry if it's labeled if it's labeled spring water and it comes in plastic, your BPs are off the scale.
Yeah.
Here's what happens with plastic. It's okay if it never did one thing, got hot and then got cold. What happens with all of our water? It gets shipped. It goes into warehouses. It does this, it does that. The longer it stays in that plastic, it's collecting more because warehouses, they're not regulated. They go real hot, they get cold, they go real hot. The longer the water sits without moving, it's already going dead.
Yeah. 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 It's like the cat, isn't it? In the bowl. If you pour water into a cat's bowl and the water's fresh, it'll drink it.
Mm-hmm.
Within half a day or next day, that cat will not drink that water because it's dead.
It's dead.
Yeah.
It went dead. There's nothing energizing it.
No.
And with the way our world is now, with them putting everything known to man into our water, including, bio, what's
Yeah. Yeah.
with the big W.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
we're talking and then think about all of the pharmaceuticals that are in water. I mean, and then the fluoride, which will calcify your pineal and pituitary gland.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Highly toxic.
yeah, and then think about they're recycling sewage and
Yes.
giving it back to you. We have all this fresh water and they're recycling sewage and you're
I know.
drinking water.
I know when I was a kid in my family come originally from London and before I was born a lot of my family moved up to Norfolk in England, and so I was born in England, but I'm fundamentally London, if you know what I mean. As a kid up until about the age of 10, I spent most of the summer holidays and bits and pieces down in London area, I just, and I can remember my nan saying to me once that every single drop of water, and this is in the 70s, right? This is in the 70s, late 70s, that every single drop of water you're drinking has gone through somebody 7 times.
Oh God, they
I was
knew.
like, I just didn't, because in Norfolk, where my nan lived in Norfolk, it was pumped directly out of a well, and the water tasted unbelievable. And it was only in later years when Anglian Water stopped that happening and put her onto the
Oh,
mains, and the water then was shocking. It was terrible.
yeah.
It was you could smell the chlorine coming out of it like you
Oh,
can. Yeah, but
God.
but for X amount of years, I mean, this water coming out of my nan's tap was it just tasted, and I can't express what it, but it tasted. It was alive, and it was. I mean, as soon as I got
Yeah.
round there, I'd be like glugging water like you wouldn't believe because it
Yeah.
was just so nice. Um,
I I can tell you too. I lived at my brother's house for 5 years in Newark, Delaware, and he was on prime water. The person that had built the house went out water witching and found the prime water on the property, then got a hold of the farmer and bought the land specifically so they could tap into the prime water. So they bought like a half an acre and built the house. This house was really phenomenally built too. I could go into what they've done with it, but when I was going at my brother's house, his well was only 60 feet deep because he hit an underground river, which is
yeah,
the prime water. And you're never going to run out. I don't care if you use it, let it just run 24/7. You're never, it's on a river.
yeah, yeah,
And the first time I went over there and I drank his water, I'm like, you don't have a filtration system on this, do you, Kai? And he's like, no, I don't, because it's not a deep enough well. And I'm like, tell me about this water, because this water is quite something. So he's like, oh, it's on an underground river. He had no idea what it was about. And I'm like, you're on a prime water. He's like, what is that? And so I was telling him about that. He's like, well, it's bad. It rots my pipes. I said, the reason it's so acidic and it's doing all this is because it's full of minerals and things you need to have in your diet.
yes,
It's eating, it's corrosive to metals, which is great because if you're full of AI, it's corrosive to metals.
yeah. No, yeah. And again, I mean, I go fishing. I've weird fish. Yeah, I'm a fisherman. And I've fished all my life, and so I suppose I've been fishing 50 years. I'm coming for 54, and I started fishing when I was 3 or 4 years old. So, you know, and I've seen the changes in the rivers and the lakes around me in Norfolk over this 50-year period. And I mean, going back to women's lib, one of the big things that happened in Norfolk was when the pill first came out in the 60s, late 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
The water company were pumping that water, obviously when it's treated, straight back
Mm-hmm.
into the river.
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't stripping or taking out those hormones. And it sexually changed the fish. There's a species called
Oh,
roach, and the roach, which were nationally renowned in the River Wensum, of big, pristine roach. It's a chalk streamy type. I mean, the river is beautiful. It's not anymore, but it used to be. And they pumped all this, water that was not treated properly with all the hormones, and it changed the sex of the roach, and the roach population crashed,
oh
and we
God.
are still yet to recover to the roach
Oh my God.
populations that we had. Now, if it does that to fish in the water that quickly, I mean, we're talking within 5 or 10 years, the fish population crashed completely within 5 to 10 years of the
Oh,
birth pill being introduced. What's that done to not only men but women drinking it as well?
population. What is the big thing they want here? Population reduction.
Yeah, yeah,
You're becoming sterile. Sorry about your sperm count because it's down to zero.
yeah,
Oh, you can't have children. Well, you'll have to have artificial insemination. That's $20,000. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. No, no. But that's just one. I mean, currently what we've got in Norfolk is they're pumping raw sewage into the rivers,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a deliberate act, and people can't understand or see what's going on. I mean, the other day, my boy he fishes a bit. He was fishing in
Yeah.
the river in Norwich, and it's still like the Wensum. Still, it's all the same kind of river, but it's the whereas it gets bigger and tidal, and he's fishing away, and he's like, he said, he said they were pumping raw sewage into the river, and there was no high rain. There was no reason for this to be happening, and yet they were doing it on purpose. And they're killing fish stocks and all the rest of it, and sterilizing, and it's just like, you swines.
They're doing it in America too. When I came back to the USA, because my dad was in the military and we were stationed over in Germany. That's where I actually went to high school. And we came back. I went to the end of Perryman where I was living, and there is a place called Sod Run, which is a wastewater, sewage plant.
Yeah.
And I went swimming, and then the next morning I woke up with 106 temperature, ended up being deathly ill, went to the doctors. They're like, "Oh my God, what happened?" And I told them what happened. And then they ended up putting in the paper, there was a small leak of 10,000 gallons of raw sewage in the bay, literally 20 feet from where I was swimming.
Yeah.
And since then, they've been having little overflows and leaks up to 1 billion gallons or something like this over a
Yep.
year. And it's like, it's no wonder the Chesapeake Bay is completely almost dead.
Yeah.
The entire Chesapeake Bay. Because if they're doing it at Sod Run, they're doing it across the entirety of the United States of America.
Yeah.
And you want to know why our waterways are trashed? Because this is a plan, Stan.
Well, think how much money they can make out of water, and the scarcity of something that is not scarce at all,
Yeah.
obviously, just like
And
the oil.
why are you using sewage water when you have more water underneath of your feet than we have an ocean that's bigger than this snow globe underneath of our feet?
Yes, we do.
We are
It's
living in a wild world.
it's very interesting. Again, going back years and years and years, in Russia, um, they dug a deep hole, the deepest hole ever. I think is it 8.2 miles, I think, from memory. It's a long time since, but they dug this hole, and they bored down, and they took samples all the way down. It's a scientifically done thing, right? Because they
Mhm.
wanted to see what the real layout was, and if there really was a hot magma core in the middle. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know there's not, but there, but this is what they tried to prove. And I think at 8.2 miles they had to stop because they hit something so hard that they couldn't get through it. And I think from memory it was like over something like 6 or 8 months or whatever. They dug 2 inches and went through hundreds and hundreds of drill heads, and they just couldn't get through it. But what they did find was that the tectonic plates, as we were told, wasn't true, and they were
Oh,
finding layers of water in layers, literally.
yeah.
So that there might be like a magna layer, then there'd be rock, and then there'd be water, then there'd be rock, and then there'd be another layer of water, and it didn't make sense to what they were being told.
Yeah. Here's the thing, everything is a lie. We're living on dead things. Some of these dead things are enormous. And just like us, if we petrified and then you get a little amoeba on us, we're going to be like, why are we hitting all of this? Why are we? Because guess what? You're living on dead things.
Yeah, 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 totally, totally, totally. Um,
I mean,
I have a question from a guy called Mark. Okay, and it is kind of it's weather related, and but Mark's noticed he's got a barometer, and he every day he taps the barometer, checks the pressure readings and stuff like that. And he's noticed that his barometer's virtually not moved since 2016. Okay, and obviously he's interested in our take on the sun and the weather in general. Now, obviously, we know that the weather's geoengineered and manipulated.
yeah.
And in actual fact, the first patent for weather manipulation in the patent office was in 1891.
It's
So,
been
so
around
in
for a while.
1891, they had worked out how to make it rain fundamentally. So imagine how much more advanced they are today. And we know they are. They've got ships out in the ocean. They can create. I mean, wasn't it Bill Gates owns the patent um, for twisters, for hurricanes and stuff like that? Bill
For
Gates
tornadoes?
actually owns that patent, I think. It's like
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
So obviously, we know that weather can be manipulated,
Hmm.
and that's really not the thing, really, because I think we need to go a bit deeper than that, because we live I mean, obviously, Sonia and I agree on this totally that we live in a holographic realm, a matrix. It's an AI construct, you know. So when we're talking about AI as well, it's not really AI because the AI that runs this realm and the demonic AI that took over would never allow another AI to be created because it could then challenge it. So
Yep.
AI is really not AI and never will be AI. You know, it's you know, but so, what is your take, Sonia, on the fact? Because I mean, an observation for me personally is years ago when we had high pressure, particularly in the winter in the UK, it would mean no clouds, bright sunny days, and a hard frost at night time. And
Yeah.
nowadays we can have the barometer going literally through the roof, and but we have huge amounts of cloud, no frost, you know, just grey. Now,
Yeah.
I know some of this is geoengineering, but there's also something more to this in the background. What's your take on this, Sonia? Please.
Okay, first off, I'm going to tell you this. I'm a walking barometer. When the temperature, not so much the temperature, but the air pressure changes. Think of a deep sea diver going deep sea diving, and the deeper he gets, the more pressure is on him. Anytime we have a system, which is your any kind of pressure system coming around, not so much the high pressure, but the low pressure. So, you have something called a hygrometer, a barometer, and a thermometer. That's the
Yes.
three-tier system. Okay. So basically, I would be like the barometer because of how I'm designed with my biofield. And as soon as the weather starts changing and the heavy ions, because ions come in positive and negative, just depending. The ions is what determines your high pressure and your low pressure. If you get a lot of negative ions, you're going to have high pressure. If you get a lot of positive ions, here comes your thunderstorms and your whatever. So what I'm seeing is that through through lots of experiments through the deep state, they are I'll do one half first. The deep state is completely in control of the entire weather in the entire snow globe through seeding, whether it's seeding for a high pressure, and they have two things. They either seed to dissolve everything, or they seed to create tornadoes, storm systems. They can even seed like here and here and leave it open in the middle. And that way they can push anywhere they want through the middle a storm, and then they can block it off and stall it.
Yeah.
So that's how they did Katrina. This last one they did last year with trying to make this big storm come out of the middle of the Caribbean and go into these different places in America so they could destroy them. They seed here, and it literally pushes because they'll seed behind it, pushing it this way, and then they'll seed in front of it and stall it out. That's how they do it.
Yeah.
So we have all this weather manipulation. I can also seed wind. Ask me how to seed wind. So I saw that, okay, they want to create a windstorm. So what they're going to do is they'll seed over here, here, and here, and they'll seed a high pressure, a low pressure, and a high pressure. And with those, and then they'll seed behind them. And when they force them to go together, it does this
Yeah.
tornado.
Yeah.
So that's how they're making tornadoes. Seed, 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 high, or low, high, low. So depending on what you want and even which direction that will go in, depending on how you seed, you can make it clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on how you seed. And with these things just popping up, it's because they've seeded it in small areas and they can make individual tunnels or funnels or what have you.
Yeah.
Everything that happens is being done by the deep state. Devastation.
Yeah.
There it is. And they always have their agendas of annihilation, but they're always getting something out of it. The land, the whatever, doesn't matter. Then I'm also seeing that with the barometer. I remember when I was much younger, before this bullshit came with what they're doing now, that as soon as a storm system came, as fast as it would leave, and you'd have your blue skies again. Do you remember the time where storms would roll in, be bad, and then be gone? and
Yes.
the sun's back out again.
Yep.
We don't have that anymore. We rarely ever have that anymore. I have seen it every now and then when we have somewhat real weather because nature is fighting with them. Because what's going on in this snow globe is that with this ascension, Gaia is awake. And from that, what we're living on, Gaia's like, you know what? And they slam her 24/7, slamming her. You stay down, stay down, stay down. And that's what we're dealing with now. So if the collective, that's you and me, decide that, you know what? We're not having this. We're the biggest manifestors. We're designed to manifest here. This is what this place is for us to manifest. And we decide to say, screw you. Every time they give a weather forecast, they want you to create that weather forecast because you are going to believe in it and you are going to manifest it. Stop it.
Yep.
You tell it what it's going to be. Screw the weather forecast and you tell it what it's going to be. You
Yep.
work with Gaia. You work in tandem with Gaia. And when you do that, you are powerful, all God that you've always been. And you'll realize it. They don't want you to know this. The biggest kept secret is you can manifest. You don't need them.
Yep.
Disconnect from them and take back the reins. Don't give your power away.
No, I agree entirely. I mean, as soon as you were saying that, I was thinking, well, we manifest the weather by the collective consciousness of the spell of them putting it on
Yes,
the TV.
what they want. We want this. Manifest it.
Yeah.
Believe it.
Yeah.
Because I say so. No, screw you. We were having a heat wave and I'm like, I've had it with this. And I said, that's it. And I was like, I'm sitting in those two chairs. I talk about the two chairs of the halls of Amante that I just discovered not that long ago. And I sat in those two chairs and I'm like, this is how it's going to be. We are going to have temperate weather again. It is going to be cold at night. It is going to be moderately warm in the day. And that's it. Across the whole screen, it said for France, for this area, because I'm in central France, we were going to be at 100. Guess what? It hasn't even gone over 75.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, hey,
Superb.
they predicted all this hot weather and we're just not having it now. I said, yeah, we're not having it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So you talk about, and I fully agree that we're in the quarter of or the fourth quarter or quadrant of the snow globe currently.
Mhm.
And we moved in there probably around 2016, 2020-ish, whenever, um, as we're preparing to get out of here. Now, do you think that's also had an effect on the weather? I know they're still manipulating the weather, but do you think this actual quadrant itself has a different weather system? I mean, the sun is
Yeah,
not our sun anymore.
yeah,
What
no.
what are your
Oh my
thoughts on
gosh.
that?
Oh, okay. So when I was talking earlier, when I talk about this stuff, I talk about we're in four quadrants. Just think of a flat disk, quadrant one, two, three, four. There are three suns. These three suns, the yellow suns, are documented. You can go into some old paintings and things, and you'll see three suns in some of these documents, and it's through paintings and stuff. Quadrant one, two, and three have a yellow sun. Quadrant four has a black sun. This is your Nubaru. It's actually the black sun. It's not a planet, it's the black sun. And this is where we should be in the dark ages. We go through dark ages because we're going through the gamut of the quadrants. When you hit the dark ages, the very next thing that happens is the Renaissance. Because out of the dark ages, you're leveling up, and the next thing you have is a Renaissance. And that's a new revision of a reality. It's as simple as that.
Yeah,
And so Planet Nibiru is the black sun. No, it ain't going to crash into us. We are here now. This is where this thing is. This is why we're having the dark ages. La di da di da. We have three yellow suns. We also have another sun that's inside of this snow globe, and it's the green sun, and it goes up and down right there in the middle where Hyperborea is. And Hyperborea is in the middle of the four quadrants. That's why there's four pieces of land in Hyperborea, because it's in each one of these quadrants. And in the middle is Hyperborea. There it is in the center of the four quadrants. Why can't anyone find it? Because they're telling you look in all the wrong places for Hyperborea. It's not over here. It's not in any one of these quadrants. It's in the middle of the four. It's on the outskirts of.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's why no one can find it. Everyone's like, well, Hyperborea is supposed to be here. Hyperborea was here at one time. No, it wasn't. You're looking in all the wrong places because who told you that?
yeah, yeah. So what Sonya's talking about there, guys, is we've all seen a map, okay, which doesn't relate to any land masses we know of. And there's four quarters and there's a black rock in the middle, or a pyramidy type pole.
Lodestone.
Yeah. And so if you can imagine and think back to those old maps that you've seen that don't make any sense, this is what Sonya's referencing here now.
Yeah. And so I hear all these people talking about Hyperborea is exactly here. Well, if it was exactly there, it would have been discovered a long time ago. All you need is some scuba diving gear. It's not there because it's not where you think it is. So basically, think of the moon as being the flat map. So you look at the moon, you'll see where it looks like all of our little continents, but yet there's all of this other stuff around it. Okay. So that is one quadrant. There's another one identical, another one identical, and another one identical. We have four of those quadrants that look like the map of the moon because that is like a looking into a gazing ball and it's showing everything inside of here. That's why it never moves. Even though we have two moons, real quick, we have the holographic moon where you can see a holographic line going over it because it's actually a craft like a Death Star. And then we have the reflection off the dome,
Yeah, yeah,
which is in this quadrant. So basically, when you have these four quadrants, it's also designed on a spiral. So when you're down here, the sky is extremely high. When you go to the next quadrant, it gets a little less. You go to the third quadrant, it gets a little less. When you're at quadrant 4, we are almost touching the sky, which is why we have the clouds so low now because we're not in the same place in space as we were in 2012.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense to me. Hopefully it does to the Femi. But
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of information. Just think of a spiral going up and from quadrant 1 in 3D, which is we live in 3D, you start here, you're going up, think of a roller coaster. By the time you get here to quadrant 4, you're up high. You're still in the same reality, but you're in a different density, which
yes,
you have one whole frequency with 12 densities. Depending on where you are in the quadrant, you're going up in density, but you're always going up in the spiral. So
yes,
this is why all of a sudden it looks like the sky's. Remember that old saying by Chicken Little, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Well, no, it's not that the sky is falling. We're going up and we're
yeah,
meeting the sky.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I did a video quite a long while, one of my earlier videos, and I'm talking about time and the conceptual nature of time because it's not linear. Time is actually spirals,
It's a spiral. It's a
and
spiral.
and as we're spiraling in the same place. We never go forwards, backwards, or anywhere. We're constantly spiraling. But as we spiral, what we also have is the frequency of consciousness. And the frequency of consciousness is constantly waving up and down, up and down, up and down. Yeah. And
Yes.
as we spiral and as it's doing that, we're kind of slowly going up this like
Yup.
helter shelter type old style slide system fundamentally until we get to the top. When we get to the top of that, in the right period of time, because everything is not time is as linear, but in the right frequency of the time period of our perception of it, we then have the opportunity to ascend to the next level or the next part of the density, which then means we leave this particular one away alone and we go to another one which has a
Mm-hmm.
lot less negativity in it. And
Mm-hmm.
we have to be of a certain maturity not to bring that down and be able to slot in to that frequency that we're then going
Mm-hmm.
into.
Yeah. I will say another thing, and then the next thing everyone's going to ask me, well, why do I see that sun in the sky? And I'm going to tell you, our suns were always three colors: yellow, black, or green. So this sun that you're seeing, and everyone is seeing different suns, are white and turning blue white. Those are simulators.
Yeah.
So now that we're in quadrant 4, we should only be having a dark black sun, except in the morning and in the evening, because how it runs here is that each quadrant sun runs on a flat plane. It does this on each plane. Okay. We'll be able to see quadrant three and quadrant one sun in our evening or morning. Okay, so the morning would be quadrant three, the evening would be quadrant one. And when it gets close enough to our reality quadrant, we will see remnants of that coming through because they're really bright. And we got them for like anywhere from a half an hour to 45 minutes, depending on what time of day it is. And so
Yeah.
what they do is they run these sun simulators, which they make no bones about, because for a while they were boasting, look at our sun simulators. And now they're saying, no such thing. What are you talking about? And trying to gaslight you. They even have films of sun simulators going up in China. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you
Yeah.
want?
Yeah. They're telling
So
you.
yeah, so basically, when they know that the suns are going to come to a certain point, depending on what time of year it is, because each one runs from the middle out to the outside and then back to the middle. So it's going to change every day when it reaches that point where we'll be able to see it in the evening or the morning. They'll run the sun simulator over it, and then they'll phase out the sun simulator, and all of a sudden your sun is yellow and gold and
Yeah.
orange.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, Sonia, I obviously with fishing, often fish all night, or so I'm there in the morning, and I'll get up and I'll watch the sun come up, and obviously it doesn't come up, but it comes closer to
Comes
us, doesn't
towards
it?
you,
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
towards you.
And as it comes towards us, it's this lovely orange sun that I remember as a kid. And you
Yeah,
can sun glaze. I mean, you can
yeah,
look at this, and you can actually, properly look into the sun and sun gaze. It doesn't
yeah,
hurt your eyes. It's absolutely fine. Yeah.
yeah. And it
Uh,
really doesn't burn your eyeballs out.
No, no. And then all of a sudden, it's like a switch, and it suddenly goes white, and you can't look at it then. You
Yeah,
can't look at the white one. The white one is really not the one to look at,
no,
because
no.
that,
That
that,
will burn the retinas out of your eyes. And here's the thing. Have you ever seen the sun simulators glitching? Because don't you know a hydrogen ball that's burning so bright
oh,
always glitches?
yeah, yeah, of course it does. Because for hydrogen to burn, wouldn't it need oxygen to create its own? And oh, we may as well be talking about a lithium battery up there is on fire, but there's no smoke. I mean, come on, guys.
Lithium. Don't even get me started on how they're using lithium in this reality to keep fires going in California and other
Oh
places
yeah, yeah,
because the fires would be put out. They even have frequency tools now. And I know you've seen commercials where they discovered years ago this equipment that they created through waves. And you could take this frequency thing and put it on a fire. And in a second, it takes the fire out because even fire is running on a frequency.
yes,
So if you stop the frequency, the fire's out.
yeah, yeah. I've seen that. They literally put this like thing in a fire which emits a frequency, and this fire's raging, and so he goes, poof, it's gone.
It's just gone because everything is a frequency. So how do you keep a fire running when you're going to be hitting it with all kinds of chemicals and water and then you're going to put dirt over it? Well, you're going to have to use something called Greek fire, where water and all these things make it burn harder and faster and longer. So Greek fire is lithium. Lithium is Greek
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah, yeah. I you mentioned that last time, and believe it or not, it came up of like some post somebody put up, and they were like the 5 or 6 things or 10 things in the world that no one had any answers to, and one of them was Greek fire, and they said, "Oh, nobody knows how they did Greek fire," and I just laughed my head off. I said, "Well, yeah, because Sonia just mentioned that, and actually, Greek fire is lithium. So what's the big, Come on, guys, think about it."
One day I looked into these lithium. Someone's like, you look into the lithium, and it's like the first thing I saw was old seams of the powder being used into like bombs and stuff being thrown over the ships and this and all whatever after a certain reset because the knowledge of this alchemy because that's all it is
Yes.
was never lost to the elites, because they go underground, then they come back up and they have to pretend all this, and yet they have all this technology they always have, and
Yeah.
they got to us as a population up to speed so we can recreate it or make us think we recreate it so that we can say, okay, well, yeah, yeah, yeah. This is why you went 120 years ago from horse and buggy to where we are now. That is not that is not in any reality a reality.
No, no. And like you say, I mean, in 1902 was meant to be the last Phoenix event, and it didn't happen. And so in 1902, they come straight up in after May. There's nothing happening. They know nothing's happening particularly bad, so they're straight up. And was it the literally the I think 90% of all the FTSE 500 companies were started in 1902, 1903, and 1904. And
Oh,
every single invention we kind of have, like the air conditioning units and all that, everything happened straight away. And so there's this big raft of, here you go, guys, here's the inventions. Now we're going to make money off you guys, and then we're going to start screwing you over with all the things that we've got, and we're
yeah,
going to drip feed you, and you're suckers, and you're going to think you've. I mean, every time somebody invents something like a car that will run on water, they
yeah.
kill them. You
Yeah,
know
they
what
did.
I mean?
Yeah, they've killed so many people. They've done it on running water. They've done it on uh turning, oh my God, so many different things. Water itself,
Yeah.
running engines and what have you.
Yes.
Uh, this technology has been around since the very first reset. They just keep going underground, coming back up. I mean, there's like $37 trillion unaccounted for in the black ops in the USA.
Yeah.
Okay, so Catherine Austin Fitz, which is doing this kind of a thing, and she monitors and she does audits on the government. And they found $37 trillion unaccounted for. And then someone said, well, you could actually build a whole civilization. She goes, under the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will tell you, it's not that they're actually building, they're refurbishing.
Yes, refurbishing.
Oh,
Yeah,
they're refurbishing.
they're making
They're
their
not
nest more
rebuilding.
comfortable. The nest is
Yeah,
being made more plush and comfortable because
yeah.
they know that this one coming now for
Mm-hmm.
them, or for yeah, it is for them fundamentally, will be a much longer one, and it will be a bigger one. And so
1,000 years. They got 1,000 years. But what they don't realize is, I know no one's going to know what I'm talking about, but um, this 1,000 year thing has happened, and it's just been recently where it has flipped over. I'm going to talk about this real quick before I have to go.
yeah,
I had done a video on the halls of Amante, and the reason I did it was because there was some stuff that I had known, but I did not know a lot of things. And I was watching Conspiracy because someone said, watch this. And I'm like, I can't really watch Conspiracy too much because it makes my head numb. And it's
yeah,
like, I can't do it. I feel like I'm going to throw up because it's too much. So, because it's AI.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
basically, she just showed a quick chair. And I was like, boom, did I get hit? Whoo, downloads on my chair. And she barely scathed it, just chair, and then went to the next thing and
yeah,
nothing. And it's like, hold on, what the hell is going on? I just got hit with the biggest downloads of my life. What is going on with this chair?
yeah,
So I started remote viewing, and then I discovered that the halls of Amante were actually three chambers. The first chamber is in our 3D. The next chamber is in 3D, but it's in a different density. Okay. And in order to get from this chamber to the next chamber, there's these light doors. You can call them portals. You go into this room. This room is enormous. It's made for giants. My God, it's not made for people our size. It's some kind of black obsidian, but it's high technology. And the AI that's running in there is a completely different type of an AI because it's all being run by an AI, whatever. This AI is nothing. This AI can read your biofield, it can read your mind, it can read because your mind is nothing but brain waves. So you
yeah,
go in there, and there was a chair in there, and that was the only room that most people could get through at one point, at least since the corruption, since the fall. And they had taken the chair out of there and put it under the Vatican, and that's where they were putting it under the main lane lines because the Vatican is right in the middle of those main ley lines, top and bottom, and that chair is connected to the matrix that we're in. It is a direct influential connection. You sit in the chair, whether it's physically or metaphysically here, and you can put edicts in there and what have you, and demands, and it will comply. So a time was coming up where that chair was going to, it had like, I don't know, 9 days or 7 days, I don't know how many days, 6 days or 7 days or 8 days or 9 days, I don't know exactly how many, where the chair was up for grabs again. It runs on 1,000 year increment. So this last 1,000 years was run by the bad guys. Oh
yeah.
yes, it was. So when I saw this thing and I got hit with all that information, I was like, I immediately went to the chair here and I claimed the chair for humanity on a vibration that's at least on my level.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I said, everyone and anyone across the board who is at least on my frequency has every right to sit in a chair and start making edicts. Start doing it. I put that stipulation in because you have to program the chair on where you want it to be in order to start making those edicts. And I wanted someone not to be of a low caliber to be making major changes in this snow globe.
Yeah.
So I ended up, people asked me more about it. What about it? So I started deep diving. And all of a sudden, I saw there was chamber two and chamber three. Chamber two is got a chair and it's built into the wall. So over there would be the portal to get to chamber three, but chamber two, oh my God, what I discovered. You go and sit in that chair. And I was like, I'm not sitting in that chair. I just got this feeling. I don't want to sit in that chair right now. And so I watched someone sit in the chair that was there at one point because there's no such thing as time or space.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw this person that kind of looked like a Tibetan monk sitting in the chair. And what I saw was that it took down, whew, while he was in the chair, all of the chakras. If there was any on, boom, they were down. And when they were down, I saw that the subconscious, the superconscious, and the conscious became one. But then at that point, you're going to have to deal with all of that information all at once, everything you've ever done in all of reality, in all of these incarnations, even outside of here. And now there you are as this little teeny human being having to deal with everything you've ever done in all of existence.
Yeah. All at
Most
the same
will
time.
never,
Yeah.
yeah, most people will never get out of chamber one because they don't meet a frequency to get to chamber two. If you get to chamber two, you will be able to handle sitting in the chair because of the frequency you're at and where you are mentally. Okay. And it always has to do with more knowledge. So I saw this person sitting there. I saw him go through all of that. And you are your biggest critic.
Yes.
There is nowhere to run and hide and blame. That's too far long gone. Once you sit in that chair, what is that old saying? Buyer beware.
Yeah. 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 Buyer's regret in many cases.
Oh yeah. So you sit in that chair. Once you sit in that chair and everything comes to you, all of your clairs come online. You're instantly able to, because your subconscious holds all of the answers to everything in all of existence. You know how to levitate. You know how to bilocate. You know everything's online. Your five senses go off the scale. You can do all these things. Then you go into chamber number three. Chamber number three. I do love that chamber. So I watched him go through chamber number three, and I'm with him, but on the side, because I also put in to the halls of Amante that I would just be a witness. I am not to be judged. I am not to sit in those chairs. I am just to be watching,
Yeah.
and I'm not tampered with because I need to stay in my whole state. I don't want to be tampered with. So I went with them into chamber three. Even I don't know why I was permitted, but I went because I never sat in that chair. And I saw on the walls, it's huge rooms. Again, it's another phase shift. So two isn't even the same as three. In order to pass through the doors, you have to hit a certain frequency to even pass through that door. So people that have passed through the first chamber to the second chamber, you'll probably never see them again because they're never going back. They'll know too much. So, and then when they go to three, it's the door to go out into the bigger cosmic egg everywhere. And that's also through different dimensions and densities. And so on the walls, you can see everything inside of Gaia, outside of Gaia, on top of Gaia, and it's huge. And all you do is go and touch one of those places. If you would have to know what they are, because it's not a language you or I would know. So the guy that I was watching, the monk, when I saw the door, it's constantly on. It's on for like 3 minutes and it shows a picture of a place. It is actually a place. Then it changes to another place. Then it changes to another place. And so in order to get something to stay open for like 20 minutes, you have to go to the wall and it directs where this door opens. So you can go to the next at wherever. These halls of Amante are all over the entire huge cosmic egg and inside. These are just gateways. But
Yes.
the gateway starts here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all here. Everything's mental. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is so fascinating. So I did this huge video on it. And I'm like, oh my God, the whole world needs to know this stuff. And are they going to be able to even get past? Okay, why are they guarding Antarctica?
It's pretty obvious. Yeah. Yeah. I had a vision many years ago about Antarctica and there being another civilization the other side of the ice wall. And at the time, I didn't quite understand what I was seeing. And I felt that when they had a reset here, and they wiped us out. All the elites just moved over the ice wall to the next place, and there was a secondary running system going, which they could slot from one place to another, which kind of makes sense really when we see the actors. Have doppelgangers, or we call them clones, but are they really? Are they just moving people from one place to another place because it's a duality of
Yeah.
whatever? I don't know, but
We have a
certainly,
duality of are they male or female this time around?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because the physical form is just it's not really a real thing anyway, is it?
No.
It's it's a creation of our minds
Hmm.
that we
Yep.
think is a reality, and so therefore it is because we expect it to be so. So we create that because we've been told what we are.
Hmm. Of course. Anytime we're told something, don't we like to obey? Yeah, you're right. I need to do that. We've been taught since birth to obey.
Yeah,
You know, when I think about the reptilian shape shifting, we have that ability too, but we've been so indoctrinated that that's impossible,
yeah,
that they haven't. That's why they can shapeshift into looking like humans.
yeah,
And then depending on how much they have to do this, because they do lose concentration over time, and then people have seen people turn into reptilians, it's because they've been doing it for so long that it's very taxing. You know,
yeah,
it's glamour. It's
yeah,
basically
yeah.
glamour.
Glamoring. Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. Well, thank you very much, Sonia. I'm aware of the time, and I know you got to go. So, that was awesome. And you mentioned something that I think we should really have a deep dive on next time we talk, and that's water. Because
Oh yes,
I think
water.
we could do an entire show on water because I think it's that important. And
Water is the most important. It is the conduit. It is the somatic. It is the game changer. And depending on the state of water that we're in, depends on our what we will be next in our ascension,
yeah,
because it's all correlated.
yeah. So if you would like to, perhaps next time we talk, we'll do a
With
water special
water.
and we'll do a proper deep dive on water because I'm getting goosebumps on this one because I know that there's going to be information, beautiful audience, Femi, that Sonia's going to bring to the table that's going to be brand new to all of us. But also, there's stuff that I have a really understanding of. And I think together we can really sort of get some real interesting insights onto the importance of water. So,
Absolutely.
with that, thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to Sonia of the Tree of Knowledge and her Patreon channel. Please check it out. She does some amazing work. She really is awesome. And I'm Gary of Alternative Interactions. Please like, share, and subscribe to me. And with that, goodbye, everybody. Love, light, and
Bye.
blessings.